much, yeah. The UPC project, as it came to pass, and it started officially in the summer of 1970, was an amalgam of really two streams of development. The first was an effort to come up with a standard code number for individual grocery items as they move through the distribution channel from level to level, so that instead of the manufacturer saying it's my number at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the retailer saying, okay, when it comes to me, it becomes my number 894730, that we should have a single identity, think of it as a social security number, if you will, on the case of each individual item as it moved through the channels of distribution. And this had been, the need for this had been noticed for a number of years. In the 60s, as computerization came to pass in the grocery industry, an attempt was made to, by task forces from both retailers and made up of retailers and manufacturers, to come up with a standard. And they kept getting hung up on an argument as to whether or not it should be as short as possible or could it be longer. Retailers typically wanted to have a short code so that when they key entered it, it would not take as long as a longer code. Manufacturers who typically did have numbering systems on their product shipping containers didn't want to have to redo all their systems, and so they would like to have use the current case codes and put a prefix in front of it, which would allow them to basically maintain their file structures without significant change. And so the two sides tended to meet, argue, and go home without any resolution. That effort was typically, that effort was flew under the name of, unfortunately, UGPIC, Universal Grocery Product Identification Code, and it was around for starting probably at least mid-60s, and by the end of the 60s it was still unresolved. The second stream was an effort to automate the checkout process at grocery retail by replacing the key entry of the price of each item into a cash register with some sort of automation to read either price or product identity into a computer system. And this had been thought about for a number of years, dating back probably even into the 30s, where people had thought about using punch cards for every item and then sorting the punch cards at the checkout. There was a serious attempt in the early 1960s on the part of Sylvania and Stop and Shop, and they actually had a incandescent light powered scanner, which probably heated up most of Boston in the process of trying to reflectively read information off of packages so that they could be entered in the check stand, and the problems of trying to get incandescent lighting with all its heat problems and so forth to required level proved to be too much. That that stream then moved along to a fairly remarkable conference that was held by the Kroger Company in Cincinnati in roughly 1966. Kroger noted that there were a number of companies that had been involved in the space and defense efforts that had created a number of technological advances. And they came up with the idea of attempting to educate those companies on some of the opportunities that might be present in adapting these discoveries to improving the efficiency of the grocery distribution system at wholesale and retail. And so they invited a number of companies to come to Cincinnati for a 2-day conference in which they took them basically through the entire physical system that they had: warehouse, stores, etc., trucking, and pointed out what they felt were shortcomings of the way in which they were currently doing their business, and encouraged the companies, if they saw parts of that they thought they could help improve, to come back and tell them about it. One of the participants was the RCA company, which had recently, in about that period of time, had moved to commercialize the laser-powered scanner. And they thought that front-end scanning might be a way of exploiting the laser that they were developing. And so they suggested to Kroger that they would like to form a partnership to develop that. And by 1968 or so, they actually had a working scanner in their labs in Princeton, New Jersey. Those were the basic streams that then we'll get to a little bit later, led to the UPC project as we know it.